good morning to those who joined. My name is Guillaume, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Scoop.it. Super excited to be with you this morning. So we're going to have a 20-minute presentation on how to build your content marketing machine for effective lead generation. So for those of you who just joined, this is part of a new series, a new format we're doing at Scoop.it, where we're trying to create very short, to-the-point webinars. We're covering one topic and one topic only in 20 minutes. And then we're going to have 10 minutes of Q&A at the end. So we want to make efficient use of your time. Make sure you leave that webinar with key takeaways and things you can try out that can help your content strategy moving forward. So a few things on the logistics. So you can use the GoToWebinar questions interface to ask any questions, and we'll cover them at the end. So feel free to drop a question there. There'll be a recording of this, so you'll receive that. So if you are concerned, if you missed something, we're going to send a recording of this after that. This is our second episode of this series. We covered the strategy part last time, and next time we're going to be covering the measurement part. And you can also, tweet any question to us following that webinar. If you have some, questions that were not answered or that you didn't think about during that session, feel free to tweet me. I'm at @gdecugis. You can also tweet on the hashtag content strategy, anything you'd like. All right. So again, we're gonna talk about how to build an effective machine with content to generate leads. And for those of you who are not here, a quick recap on what we covered last time. So again, this is a series of webinars to help you generate leads with content. So last time we talked about the strategy, and we said, okay, your strategy is about building something like this, is considering your funnels for each of your buyer personas, and understand that your content is helping your buyer personas, your prospects, your leads, understand new things, get answers to their questions, because if they understood the answer to this or that question, then surely some of them would convert because they would want to be going further. So we talked a lot about alignment last time and said, okay, and your content plan should look like this. Your content plan, your content strategy should look like something like this. You should have for each buyer persona the questions at each and every stage of the funnel with answers that you're going to be producing. That's going to be your content. And then the next steps, which are going to be the conversions, that's the calls to actions that you're going to offer to your readers, to people who consume your content. And by the way, if you missed that webinar, there's a recap you can get. Of course, there's a recording of this webinar. Again, it's a 20-minute session. So, but pretty much what we covered last time was to do this. You have now a content plan. You have your personas. You have their questions. You have your answers. They ask, you answer, and some of them convert. So that's kind of the high-level part on how to map your content like this. And today we're going to talk about what is this extra step that is between content consumption and conversion. Like, how do you get people who've read your content or consumed your content to take that extra step? That's going to be what we're going to be talking about today. So the key framework for the way we're thinking about answering this question is something like this. We call that the 3 pillars of your content marketing machine. And at the middle in green, you can see we have your content site. So that's where you're going to be publishing all of your content, the content you create, but also some content maybe you're curating, some content from contributors. So everything that you can publish that's relevant to your content strategy, and that you're going to place on your own channels. And we're going to come back to why having your own channel for your content is important. You're going to leverage additional channels like social media, email, things you don't necessarily own, but that can help you distribute that content. So you're going to be getting people to consume content on your site by distributing it on social media and email, or maybe doing outreach, posting it on other platforms. We'll go in details. And because it's on your site, you can place the calls to action you want to drive people to landing pages that convert that makes additional offers depending on where you are in the funnel. So we're going to make that very concrete and explain step by step how you can build an infrastructure like this that doesn't get you just traffic, but also leads from content at all steps of the funnel. And that's important. Last time what we covered is that, and going back here, regardless of where prospects are in your funnel, there should be a conversion. There should be an ask you can get them to follow, to convert at each step of the funnel and not just the bottom of the funnel. So let's go back to here. So first, why is it important to have your own content site? Well, the first thing is if you want to drive conversions, if you're doing content marketing, meaning you want to drive lead generation through that content, it's important that you can drive people to convert and place your own calls to action on your content. And that's something you cannot do if you don't control the whole site. And we'll give concrete examples of that. The other thing is your content should also help build your brand awareness, your SEO. So that's why it's very important to have a content site of your own and not just rely on maybe things like a Facebook page, which is important. We're going to talk about how to use social networks to distribute your content. But typically on a Facebook page, you cannot drive the same type of conversions. You're not building your SEO over time. So you need your own content site. And also, that's something you don't build if you're using, say, the Medium publishing platform or the LinkedIn publishing platform, or if you're guest blogging on other people's sites. That guest blogging using Medium, using LinkedIn is also very interesting, but that is not what we're talking about today. If you want to build the infrastructure for lead generation, you need to have a place where you can drive your own conversions and where you're going to build your own SEO, you're going to build your own brand. So what are we talking about? This is an example. Take a blog post, take a great blog post. This blog post is going to drive traffic. It's going to be shared. If you're successful, it's going to rank. But if you're not placing it on your own website, you won't be able to convert to the next step we're talking about. So here, that's just an example of one of our blog posts. That's pretty detailed, and that you can see instantly from reading this page that there are some clear calls to actions to download our ebook on the complete content marketing handbook for SMBs, ROI or RIP. And so you can see that people reading this blog post, if they like it, if they like the premise of it, if they like the content that we've been putting on that blog, they're going to be more inclined to dig deeper and download the ebook on the complete content marketing handbook for SMBs. And we do that by placing calls to actions, maybe in the sidebar, maybe at the bottom of the post. Doesn't really matter, but people reading that content will be exposed to that call to action and will be then able to click. And you see we have a gated, we're gating this content. So we have a landing page where people will have to be qualified to download this guide. So they're going to tell us who they are. They're going to tell us a bit more about the company they're in. They're going to give us their email address, their phone number, and that's going to help us build our funnel. So that's kind of one of the examples you can do. You can use your content site to then drive people to a landing page, and you're going to work on that alignment between the content of your blog and the call to action you're using here. So of course, it's not enough to just publish content. You need distribution, and that's the articulation we want to clarify. We love social networks. Every content marketer should embrace social networks, but to me, a Facebook page will never be my content site. I cannot have the conversion I want, but yet I can use it to distribute my content. And I can post, I can schedule, I can repurpose content to my Facebook page, my LinkedIn page, my Facebook profile, Twitter accounts, Google Plus, and so on. And now what I'm doing is I'm doing something very clear. I'm building my social media audience. I'm engaging it with great content, but I want this audience to click through to my content site from where I can convert and from where I can also accumulate people coming in from search. And so how do we distribute that content? People won't come to your content just because you published it. So you need to drive strong distribution. So you should distribute that content onto multiple social networks. You should do some outreach, maybe to influencers, to members of your community, people who can help you distribute that content further and create a greater impact. You should do email newsletters. Email is a very important way to distribute your content. You are doing two things when you're distributing your content via email. You're creating top of mind, you're reminding people, you're nurturing your funnel, but you're also going to be more likely to get people to reshare your content. So you're going to hit two birds with one stone. And the important thing to understand, and this is what those graphs are about, content can be done. Once you've written a blog post, your creation work might be over, even though maybe you want to upgrade that or update that at some point. But most of the work is done when you hit publish. But your work is not done either. You need to distribute this content, and distribution never stops. So, on the left, this graph compares what happens when you are creating a piece of content and where you're sharing it a few times. You're getting the number, the traffic, and the leads generating by this post to climb during the next 2 weeks after you've published it. And you can see then that your traffic and your leads are plateauing. So you're essentially been working hard to create a piece of content that helps you generate some views, some traffic, some leads for a very, very short period of time. On the right side, however, we're using what Jeff Bullis has been doing for years now, which is to reshare older content over and over again. And when he says old, it doesn't mean it's not relevant. It's evergreen content that's still relevant months after months or even years after years. And by doing that, you're now getting your content to keep on generating leads and traffic for a much, much longer period of time. So every time you publish a piece of content, you should think of distribution as something that is never done. You never stop distributing your content until the data shows you that your post is no longer relevant, that you should create a new one, a better one, or you should update the one you've published. So by combining those things, we've seen that we can have a content site, we can have distribution on social networks, and then we can have conversion. And another way to look at exactly the same picture is to look at this hierarchy of content. And I like having that because it speaks to many things. First, at the top, you have what we call lead magnets. And that might have been a term you've heard. We'll come back to that notion, but it's gated content, meaning people cannot access it without giving you their email address. So there will be a form of conversion that is, traceable, measurable, that you can, compare from one asset to the other. But you're creating at the very top those lead magnets. So gated content that sits on the landing page where people will have to fill up a form or something like that. And that is very, very high value. It's high value enough so that people will leave you their email address to access it. So that's kind of at the top of this pyramid here. Then below that, you have your traffic magnets. So blog posts that are, easy to share for people, that are engaging, that are valuable, that people will say, oh, I loved what I read here, so I'm going to share it. And those posts are also going to help you rank. They're going to, unlike gated content, which is not seen by Google, blog posts are not gated. So Google can index those blog posts, and you can rank with those blog posts. And you're going to use distribution on social media and email, on outreach, to engage your audience and drive traffic to your blog posts. And you can see the hours are showing how your traffic is building up from your distribution efforts to your blog posts and through the calls to actions from your blog posts to your gated content. And so by thinking about your content this way, you're essentially also helping find the right balance. Social media is probably something you do multiple times a day. Blog posts are probably something you should think about doing multiple times a week, but you're never gonna be able to blog multiple times a day. So it would be too ambitious and you would probably degrade your quality. And gated content as well, similar stuff. It's probably a monthly, quarterly thing. So you can see there's a balance here. A lot of content at the bottom, and as you go up the pyramid, less and less content. And that's also related to the amount of time you should think about putting into each of those tasks. Social media, distributing your own content should really be 4 or 5 minutes. If you're spending more time than that, you should really consider content distribution automation tools. Of course, Scoop.it Content Director, our own product, does that very well, and it allows you to distribute your content, create a full campaign in just minutes. Creating blog posts, typically people tell us it's 4 or 5 hours, and gated content should be something you put maybe 4 or 5 days into. So you can see that you're not going to be able to do the same amount of gated content as blog posts as social media. So you should prioritize your work and your efforts, or your team's efforts, so that you have a balance like this. And so to give you an examples of, we've talked a lot about lead magnets and gated content. Those are some examples of gated content. And there's a webinar we did with Barry Feldman a couple of months ago that I encourage you to watch if you're looking for inspiration on what are those lead magnets, how can I use lead magnets to really make an impact and drive conversions with my content. He gave a lot more examples than those, but those could be tips, could be a report, could be ebooks, could be an interactive quiz or test where people can make a self-assessment, could be a template. So there are all sorts of lead magnets that can inspire you. And if you're looking for inspiration, do watch this webinar with Barry. He gave a very long list of amazing examples from all across the web, and from his experience as a leading thought leader in the content marketing space. So how do we make that concrete? How can you take that away and start doing this a couple of weeks from now? So the key here is to think about how you want to organize your own content. So think of your content as something that needs some organization, and that can be organized to build that hierarchy, that pyramid of content. So think first about building landing pages. There are lots of great tools. Some of them are free, like the ones here, Unbounce, Instapages, Lead Pages. They're all they all have a free version that you can use to start building some landing pages. And so that's going to take care of the technical part. But essentially, having this tool plus a WordPress blog, that's probably enough. Plus, of course, your social channels, that's probably going to be enough to get started and think about your social content, your blog content, and then your gated content. And then, you can think about organizing things like this. On our end at Scoop.it, we have our social content that is what we are distributing on our social channels. We also use Scoop.it pages to kind of organize this content. So we like also to recycle our curated content for our own SEO, and so we use Scoop.it pages for that. We have our blog, which is on WordPress, and where you can find a lot of content on how to be better at content marketing. And then we have resources, which are this longer form, evergreen type of content, or it could be a longer form blog post. But that's kind of the three things we look at for our own content. And something I want to share with you to end with is this doesn't get built in a day, but you can think about everything you're going to do every day, every micro moment of content to slowly build something like this. And so, for instance, the way we think about our content at Scoop.it is that every day we curate content, and that's the easiest form of content publishing we can do. I'm sure all of you curate some content on your social channels, and you do that multiple times a day, and you read a lot of content multiple times a day. From that, we inspire our own content creation. When we start curating on a given topic, we learn, we get better, and so that informs our own content creation. And so we typically have those discussions with Felicia and other people in our team where we say, hey, we've been curating a lot about this topic, so why don't we create our own vision of this topic? Why don't we create our own blog post around it? So that's how we inform content creation, and we start getting a blog. And taking this curation work, this blogging work, we can repurpose that into our own ebooks and white papers. And a lot of our ebooks, if you look at them, they are essentially, our blog posts mixed with some curated quotes from influencers, some studies we've done. So it's a mix, it's a patchwork of the work we've previously done, curating content and doing some creation on our own. And so, after you've been spending, maybe a few weeks curating and writing content on a given topic, you want to take a step back, and you'll be able to take a step back and say, well, what if I put everything I've learned so far into an ebook? What would it be? And you can repurpose some of your blog posts, some of your ideas, some other people's ideas that you've been curating, and you can start writing those ebooks and white paper and start doing, creating the ultimate guide on this, or the how-to guide on that. And as you start building ebooks and white papers, and historically we only had a few of those, so we had them on standalone landing pages, we started to assemble all of those landing pages and created our own resource center. And that's how we built a resource center without resources, which is kind of a joke, but we didn't have initially the resources to create 50 guides on how to do content marketing, or 20 studies or research studies on what it means to do that, or what is the truth on that. So we didn't have the resources to do that, but we had the resources to spend time curating and writing content, and we tried to put all of those efforts into something that would converge to eventually have a resource center. And now we have one, and you can check out our resource center. If you go to our sites, you'll see that we have a lot of interesting and great resources that a lot of our community has helped us build. So that's what I wanted to cover today. And before we move to question, I want also to mention that our next webinar will be scheduled very shortly. We don't have a date yet, but we'll be communicating that quite quickly, and it will be about measuring content conversion rates. So in session 1, we covered about how to build your strategy. And again, for those of you who've missed it, this is about building something like this. So thinking about the topics that are answering questions your audience have at various stages of the funnel for various persona. Today, we've looked at how to build the infrastructure, the machine, so that you drive lead generation. Next time, we're going to cover on how do we measure that all of this is efficient? How do we bring measurements so that we can objectivize our content marketing and be better and better? And with this, we're going to open up to questions. So for those of you who missed my introduction, you can ask questions using the GoToWebinar control panel, and we're going to answer those questions as we receive them. All right, so the first question is, should I build my blog on WordPress, or should I use Medium or a platform that brings me some audience as well? So it's very tempting as you are getting started to think about using a platform like Medium, because it brings followers with it. So if you have followers on Twitter, you create an account on Medium. People who follow you on Twitter are more likely to follow you on Medium as they create an account. There is a discovery aspect in Medium that can help you bootstrap your audience. And to me, that's exactly what it's good at. It's helping you bootstrap. So it's something I would consider as a way to get started. But I wouldn't consider building my long-term presence on Medium. And the reason for that is, one, this conversion we're talking about. You're going to need to put some calls to action. You're going to need to convert people who liked your content so much that they want to click on more. They want to take that extra step we talked about. And second, you want to build your SEO. So you want to be able to control the content you have. You want to be able to bring people to your website. You want to build your brand as an SEO brand. You want to be able to rank. Think about, there are 3 ways to acquire content. One is social, second one is email, the third one is search. And so by just using Medium, you're tapping into only one of those. And it's great. It's great to bootstrap. It's great. It's a great way to create an initial audience for your content. But I wouldn't place all my bets into something I cannot control. And we've had the same story with Facebook pages back in the days. 5 years ago, a lot of people were saying, hey, I don't need a website anymore. I can use Facebook as my only website. And historically, it was a great bet because there was, 15%, 20% reach of Facebook pages, and now we're down to 5-6%. And Facebook now wants you to pay to get traffic to your Facebook page. It doesn't reach out anymore to as many people as it did. So it's a dangerous bet to make, but it's a great way to bootstrap. So yes, I would encourage you to consider that. So what kinds of calls to action should I place on my blogs? So we've talked about placing calls to actions on blog posts, and to me the key part is they should be aligned with the content stage that you're at, and so you can place them at different places on your blog. It doesn't have to be on the sidebar at the bottom. You need to test on this what works best. But in terms of what do those calls to action drive people to me, it should be aligned with this. If you're publishing on something that's very top of the funnel, if this is a blog you intend to create for people who are very far away from making a purchase decision, maybe they're coming to your blog, to your site for the first time, and they have a very generic, high-level question that might lead them to consider your product or services, but it will take a bit of time before they end up being at that point. Well, it would be silly to have a call to actions to, get a demo of your product, or get to talk to your sales team, or engage in something that's bottom of the funnel. And bottom of the funnel means, talk to sales, or get a free trial of my product. If people are at the top of the funnel, you should really think about helping them move to the middle of the funnel, not yet to the bottom. So maybe, you want to have a quiz, an interactive piece of content. Maybe you want to have them, sign up to receive more content like this. And so it's not really a matter of where you place those calls to action, but it's a matter of what is the call to action. Is this something that you feel people who've just read this blog post are going to be more likely to do than talking to sales? And of course, if your blog post is very bottom of the funnel, if you're doing a blog post on 10 reasons to buy my product, then maybe the call to action might be much more bottom of the funnel. But consider the pyramid you have. There's going to be a lot more people at the top of the funnel that you progressively move down the funnel. So how many times should you share your content? So let's go back to this slide to answer that question. So to me, distribution never stops, and that's an important thing, that an important takeaway from this webinar. As much as you're using your own content, and where you're going to be, curating the resources on your own content to make sure people can navigate it nicely, you should continue to distribute your content over and over again, because your reach on a Facebook page on a good day would be 5%. It means that 95% of people don't see your content when you publish it, when you share it. So, and again, that's back to this experiment we've done, where this is the accumulated traffic and leads for a given post. And on the left side, you have what people typically do, which is, share it a few times. You can see the vertical bars, or the total number of shares we've done. And you can see we've been promoting that post for maybe 10 days. And on the right side, we've taken a post that we've been sharing over and over and over again. You can see our vertical bars all along the X axis. So we've kept on sharing that piece of content over and over again, and it kept producing results. So to me, the question is not how many times should you share. The question is, how do you have a system that helps you understand when you're overdoing it, and at which point your content is no longer interesting, so you should stop sharing it. Maybe it means you need to rewrite it, upgrade it. And to me, the answer is data. And so that's why we're going to be talking about measurements next time. And I'm going to wrap up and I'm going to invite you to join us for our next webinar, because that's exactly what we're going to be covering, is how do you measure conversion rate for content? How do you know when your post is good enough? How do you know when you should stop sharing your content? Or how do you know when you should start resharing some older content? So we're going to talk a lot about measurement next time. So stay tuned, and I'll hope you'll join us for our next 20-minute webinar on content measurement next time. Bye, everyone. And again, if we haven't answered a question, or if you have follow-up questions, feel free to tweet me. I'm at GDecuges on Twitter, and I love having questions. Thanks for attending, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.